Welcome to the next episode of the Parenting Podcast. It is Monday, the 16th of January, 2023. And I wanted to say Happy New Year. Apparently, I'm too late to say Happy New Year. You can't say that anymore. Honestly, what is the world coming to? But as I haven't said it to you, I hope you had an incredible Christmas and an incredible time over the festive Stephen. Stephen. An incredible time over the festive season. You can tell where my brain is at. And I hope you had an incredible start to the new year. Today is supposedly Blue Monday. Now, this is coming out to you after Blue Monday. So I'm wondering if you can tell me how today went for you, how Monday was, how Tuesday was. Statistically, last Monday was the day that most divorces tend to take, the discussion takes place, that people want to get divorced. And so given that today is meant to be Blue Monday, I thought it would be a good chance to start the podcast up again and reach out to you and see if anyone has had any particular struggles or anything that has come up over the festive period. I suspect a large proportion of these demands for divorce come up because over the festive period, we tend to spend a lot of time with our family, and often we don't do that. You know, people are off out to work, people are busy, living their lives. We don't see our families for very long during the week. You come home from work, you have dinner, you probably put the kids to bed, you sit next to each other on your phones for a bit in front of the telly, and then you go to bed. And then in the morning, before work, before school, you're busy getting yourselves ready and the kids ready. There doesn't seem to be that much time that we try and make for each other. And again, weekends are, as I understand it, filled with clubs and people going places and doing their own individual things. So often over the festive season, being pushed together with your family for long periods of time can either exacerbate issues or highlight issues or create issues that maybe you didn't realize were there. So I could be wrong. That's my personal feeling on it. I suspect that's why there's a heightened amount of divorces coming to the forefront. I can understand that. It can be really difficult being with your family over the festive period. People are with their families, so the normal people that you might go to or catch up with, you don't really have time to do that. People aren't as available for hanging out or chatting, or clubs are shut down, those sorts of things. So you have to make time for each other, and I think that can be difficult. The other thing that is very apparent, which is my main reason for the podcast today, and I warn you that, as always, this comes with trigger warnings, is people taking their own lives. And January is a difficult month. I posted the other day and said, I don't conform to the stereotype of, new me, new year, la la la, all that kind of crap. Drink all the wine that's still there, eat all the chocolate that you were given, chill out. January is hard enough as it is. Just enjoy yourselves and don't punish yourselves. And somebody hit me back and went, sorry, why is January hard? And I get that. It's not necessarily hard for everyone. But statistically, the weather's crap. We're having longer periods between payday. obviously you get paid earlier before Christmas, and then January you get paid right at the end, and that makes things financially difficult. The current financial climate in the UK at the moment sucks. It's really difficult to pay for, obviously, bills that have exponentially spiraled out of control. So somebody needs to do something about that. In that, obviously, we still have birthdays. In that, we have kids going back to school. There's so many things that we still need to pay for. The realization of, oh shit, here we are again, another year back to the grind, can be overwhelming for some people. And again, harping back to the spending time with people at Christmas, or obviously not spending time with people over Christmas, has a massive impact. I don't assume that everybody has the perfect family. I don't assume that everybody has a family. I don't assume that everybody has, a nice environment to be in over that period. So the offshoot of that is January being the month that it is, it makes everything a little bit harder. And there's been a lot of talk around people that I know, people that I have heard of, that obviously are experiencing the loss of someone. And that's not necessarily just through suicide. That can obviously be through illness, old age, losing people before and after the festive season is particularly hard, because it's always centered around, all families being together. So I guess I wanted to come back with the cheery message and talk about this kind of stuff, because I know a lot of us are experiencing it, have experienced it, will experience it, and as is the purpose of the podcast, to be real and open and transparent about these things. I watched Roman Kemp's documentary last night about losing his friend, producer Joe. And Roman opens up and says about his own experience of depression and low mood and grief, and the impact that losing somebody from suicide has. And that hit home for me. I lost a friend when I was 17, and I don't like to use social media to talk about it, because it's not my story to tell, because I know the profound effect that it has had on me and how it shaped my life, and the profound effect that it has had on the friends and family of that person, and how, yes, it brought everybody closer, but obviously in the most traumatic way. And I am grateful, really, having seen all of these things come up this week, that we didn't have social media when this happened, because it meant that their story belongs to them still. We all know, in our friendship group, in the people that were involved in that situation, And I'm being very careful to not gender or not name or not indicate who I'm talking about, because again, it's not my place. What I will say is that the shock and the anger and the grief and the gravitas that surround finding out that someone has taken their own life is unlike any other grief. And you know, I'm not special. This happens to people every day, you know, every minute of every day, sadly. And if you have listened to my personal podcast from last year about, you know, losing my daughter, you'll know that this isn't obviously my first experience of grief, but the difference in the way that losing someone to suicide is so physically shocking and unexpected. It processes differently, it sits with you differently, it remains in your body differently, and again, just with, you know, losing a child, for example, there are so many unanswered questions, and the guilt that you feel because, you know, I know as a collective we all said, you know, if we'd have called, if we'd have gone round, if we'd have, you know, and listening to Roman Kemp say the same thing, and he was talking to some teenagers who'd lost a friend recently, and that seems to be quite prevalent at their school, sadly, place in Northern Ireland. They were all saying the same things, the what ifs and the regrets and the wishes and the guilt. And the thing that I have come to learn and accept, which is the biggest thing, unfortunately, with suicide to learn, is that you have to accept the situation for what it was. You will never know the reasons. You'll never know what you could have done. There will never be any signs. You know, and as survivors of that, we often say, you know, I wish they'd have said, I wish I'd have seen it, you know, what could I have done? And unfortunately, the answer is nothing. There is nothing you could do. You can torture yourself and go back and go around the houses of what if I should have da 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 da. But punishing yourself will not answer any of the questions that they left unanswered. And it sounds a bit callous, but it's true. You know, I'm 39. This happened when I was 17. I've spent many years wondering what if. I ended up dating someone through the trauma bond of this particular situation. And that made it even worse, because, you know, the discussions of what they knew and what I knew, and then how we felt, and the going back over it, and at the time, you know, I thought that was a very healthy thing to do, very, you know, I'd healed a lot of it, and you know, I thought that I was helping him get through it, but it just brought back more questions. And ended in a very bad relationship, because the questions just don't get answered. And you feel desperate for that person, and that person feels so desperate to have done that. You know, I make no bones about the fact that, you know, I have had mental health struggles myself. I think they were always there. I think it's a chemical imbalance. I think it's a hereditary family trait, whether others agree or admit or not. That's my personal feeling on it. And I think that where I was diagnosed or told I had depression at a young age of maybe 14, 15, I never got the right help and the right person to listen until I was 30. So, you know, I was a terrible teenager, you know, was always being told that I was off the rails and that I was, you know, this, that, and the other. And you asked my parents, and my dad said, "Oh, you were awful, you were terrible." And yeah, you know, we weren't great. I certainly wasn't great. I can hold my hands up to that. But what I also know is I wasn't well. And being a teenager, being a female teenager with all the hormones that are raging, and being mentally unwell, which, you know, in the 90s we didn't talk about, we didn't prevalently know all of the stuff that we talk about now. So you were just labeled as a bit of an arse, you know, a bit difficult, wayward, unruly, you know, bit of a nightmare, rather than, why is this kid, you know, argumentative or drunk all the time or experimenting with drugs or, you know, never coming home, or, you know, what are the issues here? The family on the outside seems fine, so what's going wrong? And it wasn't just depression. Clearly, you know, I quite openly talk about the fact that I am bipolar, and that's obviously been there the whole time. So I know firsthand what it is. And I mentioned this when I spoke about, you know, losing my baby. You know, I know firsthand what it's like to want to die, to want to take your life, to not want to be here anymore. And it's an incredibly lonely, dark, desperate place to be. And, you know, I'm lucky that I've had the support that I've had, friends, family, and medical people, because I could say openly, you know, yeah, I do feel that bad, and no, I don't want to be here anymore. But I also don't have any plans to not be here anymore. You know, I'll say it again, having Joel saved my life. And that's not putting a pressure on him. That's me finally realizing that there was something to live for. And I had him when I was 27. So being 27 and finally realizing that there's something more than just being a selfish, crazy person, as I was, changed my perspective on life. And I think if you don't have something to live for, it makes things very difficult to get a perspective on. Now, that being said, there are people that have other people to live for. People have families, right? And what I would say to that is, before I can hear you all going, yeah, but that's not right. What I would say to that is, these people who commit suicide, and I know that's not the PC term, but that's what I believe it is. It's a commitment to carrying through with that. It's a commitment in time. The people that go through with it, they're not thinking about anybody else. This is not about who or what they have to live for. They are that desperate in the moment. And I say in the moment, I'll come back to that. They are that desperate in the moment that no one or nothing else enters their mind. This is about ending their suffering and their pain only. Families that I work with young adults who have made attempts at ending their life, or who express that they are desperate enough that they want to end their life, their families, their parents will often sit there and say to me, you know, what can I do? I feel like I've done everything. You know, I'm letting them down. I'm not being there for them. How can I support them? You know, what happens if they do manage to do this? I feel guilty. Da 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 da. Okay. And if you work with me, you will understand I am just as honest in my work as I am in my real life. And I'm very direct when I say to them, and I say this to you now, it is not about you. It is about them. You are focusing far too much on yourself. What can you do? How can you help? This is not about you. This is about the pain that they are going through. Do you understand what they're going through? Have you asked them? Are you listening to them? Are you providing a safe space where they can tell you how they feel? Have you asked them what they need? This is not about your guilt. This is not about what you feel you should have done or shouldn't have done. This is about them wanting to end their life, about their pain. If you do not know what they think and what they feel, because they're not willing to tell you, or they're not in a place yet where they can, the first thing you need to do is get them help, whether that's a life coach, a counselor, a psychiatrist, some kind of therapist, you know, some Reiki healing, if that's the person they feel like they can talk to. There's got to be someone for them. Then you can look at how you can best support them. Yes, you will feel guilty, but you will also feel worse if they go through with it. Sadly, if they want to go through with it, they will. And nothing can stop that. And I firmly believe, you know, from all these years of ruminating over this, going over and over and over what we could have done, how we could have changed things, could we have said something? You know, the last thing that I said, we had a row. I was kind of seeing this person, and other people, you know, other people say, oh, but, you know, I'm sure they were involved with somebody else. And I go, yeah. And I go, well, I think I was involved with somebody else too, but trust me, we had a thing and we were having the thing. And the last thing we did was have a row. And that's something that kicks me every day. Because again, you know, was I part of that? I don't think I was. I had a lot of guilt around that for a long time. But as I say, this isn't about me. This is about somebody who, in that moment in time, really wanted to end that pain. Full stop. And if people do want to end that pain, they will succeed. They will do it in a way where there is no coming back. People who want help but don't know how to communicate it and are afraid to tell people how desperate they are will make an attempt at suicide. They will do something that is bad, horrific, life-changing even. But the subconscious intention will not be death. That's my personal opinion. Feel free to hit me up if you think I'm wrong, but that's the way I see it. You know, for example, Caroline Flack did not take a bunch of pills and then call 999. She did something that meant she couldn't come back from that. And that is the pain of suicide. There are other people that, you know, make decisions that impact other people's lives. And for example, you know, people that use cars, let's say, to end their lives and can unfortunately impact other people, take other people out in the process. You know, I have many feelings on that, none of them good. But I guess that's another conversation to be had. But I feel like people that want to do this, that plan to do this, they make that decision in the moment. I say in the moment because, you know, there are people that make these attempts and later on say, I'm so glad that I didn't follow through. I'm so glad that that didn't happen. I'm so glad that I'm here now. I'm so glad that I got the help, that I get to talk to people, you know, and that is my justification for saying that attempts are, I hate to use the phrase, but like cries for help. They are a way to get some kind of semblance of help without saying they need help. And they do feel desperate. They do feel that they want to end it. I'm not putting that down, but I'm saying that there's not that plan. And no, you won't ever know. If someone wants to do it, they're not going to tell you because you try and stop them. And, you know, we've ruminated over this as a collective for all this time, 20 years. And, you know, or if so-and-so had called on them like we said we would, or like we normally did, or if, you know, someone had just popped round there, or, you know, they normally would have come out that day, or, you know, they just didn't, and then we just thought lazy, or, you know, they've fallen asleep, or they've had too many beers, and they're, you know, like the what ifs can go on and on. But I know that had it been an attempt, that these people the next day would go, fuck, I need to talk to someone. I wish you never believe what I tried to do or thought about doing yesterday, because that's what happens with an attempt. But unfortunately, over time, the hardest part is accepting that these people didn't do this by accident. This was an intention. And I think for the people left behind, that's the bitterest pill to swallow, actually, to realize that even if you'd known, there's nothing you could do. And we have to accept that it's not our fault that we didn't know. It's not our fault. Roman Kemp's mum, Shirley, said, he asked her, has there been times where you thought that I would do something like this? And she said, yeah, there has. You put me through this a few times. She said, but I know that you wouldn't do that, Ro. And I literally just looked at the telly and went, yes, but you wouldn't know, Shirley. That's the point. That's what he's going through with his friend. He didn't know. You can't tell. You wouldn't know that somebody is that desperate, or you would be able to stop them. That is why they're committed to that plan. And it doesn't have to have been a plan that they've had for months and years or whatever, or they keep, tweak it. Or maybe if I do it this way, it could just be a plan in the moment. The amount of times you see like videos and they go, oh, this is depression. This is, somebody who's desperate, and they're laughing and they're joking. That is depression. That is mental health. It's not stable. I can tell you from, being bipolar, the whole point is you're one extreme emotion 1 minute and one extreme completely different emotion the next. It is a roller coaster. And for me, that is why there is medication. It's not for everyone. But I know, without it, I wouldn't be able to hold down a successful business. I wouldn't be able to, function day to day. I've been in the places where I haven't been able to do that, where the emotions are so extreme that they're unmanageable. Risky behavior, going out on my own, going out with people I don't know, going home with people you don't know, going out partying with people you don't know, putting yourself in really dangerous positions, end up in places where you think, I've got no idea where I am, who I'm with, or how I get back from this, in other countries. And I don't just mean like, you meet someone in a bar and you go back to their house at the hotel kind of thing. I mean like, driven out into the middle of nowhere at somebody random's house and not having a clue, and thanking God that they are a decent person. But in the moment, the crazy brain doesn't assess any risk with that. Could be dead. The amount of times I could have been dead, like I can't even count. And then, so elated that you feel invincible, indestructible. You could take on the world. Everything's amazing. You don't sleep for days. You just want to party and take everything to the extreme because you can cope. But the reality is you can't. It's the chemical imbalance in the brain. And the flip side of that is then the uncontrollable urge to want to kill yourself, to have no hope, complete loss of any motivation, self-respect, self-worth, self-esteem, no confidence, anxiety through the roof. You can't even leave your house, let alone your bedroom. Just debilitating. You know, you don't wash for days, you don't eat for days, or conversely, you just don't stop eating. You know, alcohol plays a part in both of those, you know, both of those scenarios of drug taking and, you know, making yourself feel better, or taking these things because you feel worse. You need to get yourself out. It can be an absolute mind fuck of everything. And no one, apart from the people that are super close to you, that you trust, that, you know, will point out to you, dude, you're not well, because you can't see it yourself. No one on the outside sees that. No one. You know, you look at me now and go, you're not talking about you. 100%, that's all me, and worse. That's the stuff I can tell you about. You know, that's not who I am now. I've done a lot of personal development work to heal where some of the traumas come from. Some of the traumas, including, but not limited to, you know, losing family members, losing friends, suicide, stillbirth, you know, divorce, very sickly child, nearly losing him a few times. People carry a lot, and you never know what people carry. So people are not going to just tell you, I feel like I want to kill myself. They're just not. That's not something that people are going to offer. And Roman was talking to Joe's mum, producer Joe's mum, and God, she was an amazing, strong woman. And she said, you know, all I would say to people is, you know, don't do it. Stay and get some help. And the pain that you're carrying is then transferred onto your family for the rest of their lives. So don't do it. Now, I heard that. I hear that. I feel that. I completely understand what she's saying, because it's true. However, it is not about you. It is about them. And their decision to do this is right for them. Whether you leave behind a child, you have to be incredibly desperate to be able to do that. And I don't think anyone can judge someone that has been in that situation, because you don't know how bad it can get, even if, like me, you've experienced, you know, wanting to be in a pain-free, you know, stop the noise kind of headspace. Your thoughts and feelings are so dark and so destructive that you have got to be in the worst possible place to be able to leave your child. And I can't judge anyone for that at all. So how do we help? How do we go forward from here? I mean, if you listen to Fidel Bohill's podcast with me just before Christmas, it was the last one of 2022. I didn't know that. I'll tell you why in a minute, but it was, as it happened. And, you know, he very rightly said that this talking therapy for guys is difficult. You know, it's a construct that's created by, and I'm paraphrasing here, so don't sue me, Fidel, for quoting you, as it were. A construct created for the NHS, predominantly by women, about talking, and that talking isn't necessarily the best way for guys to open up. I get that. I see that. And he made some valid points about, you know, just going out, play golf, going out, you know, hanging out with your mates to the football. That kind of stuff can be very therapeutic. This sitting down, talk kind of therapy doesn't necessarily work for guys. And I understand that. And I think there's, you know, valid points in there. I would say that the mentoring that I have experienced, that I have, you know, done with younger people, that certainly works. The, you know, the going out, having a walk, taking the dog for a walk, go to the shops, do whatever it is, and having a chit chat at the same time often gives people time to open up. On Roman's documentary, he spoke to a group of lads that ask their friends twice if they're okay. So they go, "Are you okay?" Yeah, I'm cool. Are you okay? And that's often the opener, the lead up to, actually, do you know what, I'm not okay today, like I could do with a chat, kind of thing. So, you know, there's some good ways to maybe start those conversations. But I do think approaching your friends, approaching people that you trust, talking to your family, the people that you see most, whoever they are, they probably know you as well as, if not better than you know yourself anyway, because they're the people that notice changes in you, right? But I would say have the conversation with them of, look, you know, there have been times where I don't feel okay. There have been times where I feel stressed. You know, you don't have to worry about me now, but I wanted to just let you know that in the past I have felt like this, and I would like to be able to come to you if I feel like that again in the future, because chances are they've noticed that about you. Chances are they've been through something similar, or they've helped someone similar, you know. And I think we can never discount that anyone that we know is okay. We can never discount that they will not do this. We don't know people on the inside and out. We don't know how people genuinely are until they tell us. And even then, not always completely truthfully. So I think you don't need to bare your soul, but I think you need to find someone, whether it's someone you know, someone you love, someone you trust, a therapist, a doctor, a dog, you know, someone that you can just open up to and talk to, you know, drop into my inbox, send me a message, Facebook, Insta, TikTok, you know, email me, join the parenting podcast group. We are all here for each other. We cannot judge each other for feeling this way. The reason I said I didn't know it would be the last one of 2022 is because I had planned to come on and say, you know, thank you so much to everyone for all of your care and support this year. But I got caught up. I got caught up with, I forgot that I was finishing work. I forgot when Easter, there you go. I forgot where the Christmas holidays were. I forgot that these things just appear all of a sudden. And I felt overwhelmed. And I can be honestly as put together as possible. And I'm very fortunate. I have lots of people that come to me and go, "Oh, you're so amazing. How do you, how do you do these things? How do you just get on?" And, you know, I'm human. I don't, you know, and I do have bipolar. I am bipolar. I do get the crazy. And 99% of the time I'm good. But the 1% where I forget stuff and I get overwhelmed, it can overtake me. And this week is going to be my son's 13th birthday on Thursday. So this podcast is going to go out on Wednesday, so I can have that well out of the way. But Sunday will also be the anniversary of my daughter's birth/death. and she would have been 16. So I have found the last few weeks since Christmas very difficult as it goes. I haven't meant to, it's just spiraled. And I think, again, with hearing of people taking their lives and being there for friends and family where, you know, this is an experience for them right now, mentally, I've had a lot on. Not physically, but I've had to look after myself, and I've had to listen to my body, and I've had to invoke a lot of self-care. And I decided that today, rather than continue to wallow, I would pull my finger out of my backside and carry on with the podcast, because it's something that we can all relate to. It's something that we all need to support each other with. And I just want to make sure that there is a space, a safe space, a non-judgmental space for all of us to be able to express how we are feeling in that. And if you are feeling desperate, sad, deflated, you're struggling, finances suck, despair, you know, things are really difficult right now. If you feel that, you know, you can't go on, you are not alone. You are never alone. I've got you. We've all got you. You don't need to be on your own with this. You are loved. You would be missed. And we want to keep you safe. There are always better things on the other side. That much I can promise you. That much I can promise you. So I'm going to wrap this up and say thank you if you've been here still listening. If you would like to contribute as a guest, or you just want to comment, or, you know, just tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm right, whatever you want, or inquire about my one-to-one coaching programs, or the course that's coming up, then do get in touch. I would love to hear from you. I love hearing your thoughts and your feedback on the podcasts. I am looking for guests, so I would love to hear from you. But my inbox is always open. At Break Free Coaching, at the Parenting Podcast, Insta, Facey, TikTok, email, any groups, get in touch. I'm here for you.